Thyatira, the corrupt church. Today we come to the fourth message Jesus gave in Revelation, the message to the church in Thyatira. This church is different from the others. It wasn't cold, it wasn't dead, and it wasn't even lazy. In fact, Jesus begins with praise, a church doing many things right. They had love, faith, service, and endurance. And Jesus even says they were doing more good works than before. Imagine that, a growing church, active, busy, and caring for people. From the outside, this looked like a healthy congregation, but Jesus looked deeper, because a church can grow outwardly while drifting inwardly. The problem was tolerating Jezebel. Jesus says they tolerated a woman he calls Jezebel. This isn't necessarily her real name, it's symbolic, pointing back to the Old Testament queen who led Israel into idolatry. Here's what was happening in simple terms. People in the church were being taught you can follow Christ and still live like the surrounding culture. Immorality was excused, idolatry was justified, and compromise was rebranded as maturity. And the church allowed it because the people promoting it sounded spiritual. Why was this so dangerous? False teaching rarely enters saying reject God. It enters saying you don't have to be so strict. The believers wouldn't abandon Jesus. They were redefining obedience. They learned what Jesus called the deep things of Satan, meaning ideas that sound wise but slowly pull the heart away from truth. Good works were increasing, but holiness was decreasing. Jesus gives one of the strongest warnings in Revelation. Judgment would come if they refused to turn back. Why? Because love without truth becomes corruption. A church that refuses correction eventually stops being a light. It becomes reflection of the world around it. But not everyone in Thyatira followed the compromise. Some held on. To them, Jesus says simply, hold fast what you have. Not new revelations and not new philosophies, just remain faithful. To those who endure, Jesus promises authority over nations, sharing in his victory, the morning star, himself, his presence, and his life. You may feel small now, but faithfulness today becomes honor tomorrow. Thyatira represents a time when religion gained influence but lost purity, when traditions, power, and human ideas mixed with faith. The lesson isn't only about one era. It's about pattern repeated in every generation. A church that doesn't usually fall by rejecting Christ outright. It falls by slowly adjusting him to fit the culture. Jesus didn't condemn Thyatira because they lacked activity. He warned them because they stopped guarding truth. The danger was not hatred of God, it was comfort with compromise. So the message is simple. Do good, love people, and serve faithfully. But never let kindness replace conviction, because the church shines brightest, not when it blends in, but when it remains faithful, even when the world changes around it. So join us again for video 6 on Sardis.